Africa, the vibrant and diverse continent, home to some of the most resilient and innovative young minds. Yet, many of these youth find themselves seeking opportunities abroad, especially in the education sector. Why is that? And what about the agricultural sector, which has the potential to be a driving force in Africa's economy, but somehow seems to be struggling to thrive? Now, many young Africans are leaving their native countries in search for better educational opportunities elsewhere. This brain drain is a significant loss for the continent, as it deprives Africa of its brightest and most talented individuals. The reasons behind this trend are complex, but one major factor is the lack of quality educational institutions and, of course, the lack of resources in many African countries. On the other hand, the agricultural sector in Africa has immense potential to not only feed the continent, but also contribute significantly to the global food market. Yet it seems to be hindered by numerous challenges, and one of the primary reasons is the lack of access to modern farming techniques, equipment, and technologies. Now, this leads to low productivity and inefficiency, discouraging many young people from pursuing careers in agriculture. Now, this will be our focus for the discussion today, but I have not forgotten that it is also International Women's Day. So very quickly, I want to wish all the women out there a happy International Women's Day. Thrive and conquer. And this is Fafana Africa. Let me officially welcome you to the show. I am your host, and we are about to take you through 1 hour of a blissful conversation. So stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on Fafana Africa. Now, the key to empowering young people in Africa lies in providing access to quality education, vocational training programs, and of course, mentorship opportunities. Moreover, it is essential to also pay attention to the many subliminal challenges that we also face, especially as a nation. Talk about strike actions, economic meltdown, natural disasters, which in Africa is mostly flooding, and especially insecurity and many more. And our case study is Nigeria. There are even more of the determinants than the conspicuous ones. So what is the solution? How do we reduce to its barest minimum this jackpot trend that threatens the future of our dear continent? Well, that said, or that asked, I'm now joined by Adjacent Joseph Isaiah, Country Director, Campus Group, Nigeria. Thank you so much, Isaiah, for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. So we're trying to look at the challenge of, access to education majorly, especially on the continent of Africa, and a case study being Nigeria. Now, we've seen so many causative factors lately. We've seen the security issues. We've seen the strike actions where students go to school today and then they're asked to go home until further notice. We've seen the economic meltdown, which is another major challenge that so many people are facing. But I would like to hear from you. What are the specific challenges when it comes to security, or even, in any other aspect that is causing the Nigerian youths to not have access to quality education, and that is making them want to seek educational, a better education elsewhere?
Okay, thank you so much for having me here. I would like to start with this. Education is the bedrock of every growing society, and any society where education is lacking definitely will go down the drain. We have seen this in so many evidence with so many countries. We've seen where people are deprived of education, and the only thing you see happening in those environments are crisis, banditry, kidnapping, and the likes of it. So when the people are better informed, the society will become a better place to live. A lot of people are running to Western countries simply because they are sane people. They made their society like that because they chose to educate their people so that their people can be sane and behave humane. They even did it to the point where their people are accommodating to have people coming from war-torn society as refugees, and they still provide for them. This is a product of good education. Now, going back to the question that you just asked me, what are the hindrances or barriers to quality education in Nigeria, in Africa, using Nigeria point a case study. So we could have barriers such as a lack of funding for education. If you look at the national budget and the allocation to education ministry, it is appalling to know that it nothing compare to the money allocated to entertaining guests in government houses or in for functions. So that's to say there is no much important place on education in Nigeria, and that is why you see a lot of proliferation of private schools, not just university, private school everywhere in Nigeria, because the government is paying little or no attention to it, and you can know the mind of the government towards education with respect to the allocation they are putting out for it. So we have non-availability of teachers and a shortage of trained teachers. When I talk about teachers here, I'm not only restricting it to primary, secondary school, I'm talking about universities. So you can expect me to have doctorate here or a PhD here or being a professor in this country and not well paid, and my counterpart abroad are well paid. What do you expect me to do? I'm going to japa like any other person who wants to japa, because I can't be here earning media salary and my colleague abroad, and I know quite well what my skills are, what I'm offering, and you want me to still stay here to do such? I can't. So non-availability of trained teachers or shortage of teachers also hampered quality education in Nigeria. We also talk about shortage of classroom. You go to universities are flocked with students, but little or no much classroom for them to attend their classes. So others, we've seen places, well, while we're in school, we see a situation where students will have to stay outside to receive receive courses for general GST, where we have a combination of so many departments coming to take some general courses. You could have definitely experienced that as well. We have lack of learning materials. Today, what is ASU doing? Why is ASU going on strike? They're going on strike simply because there are no materials teaching students. You see students learning courses like zoology. I mean, how many university has zoo where they have wild animals that students can relate with? So and other training facility that is required for them to gain sweet experience for. We also have challenges faced by students with disabilities. We don't have equipment to cater for them. Of course, some of our universities have some equipment to cater for dumb and deaf disabilities, but for other categories of disabilities, we don't see that. And you could see that in our government policy. I don't think we even have policy for disabled people in the country. So, and also we have disadvantage of gender or then gender disparity. This one might not have to do with the government nor the university themselves or institution. It has to do with the cultural takes by different cultural background. You know, there are some places in Nigerian cultures where they place more advantage on a male child education than the female child education. So they place the female child to be restricted to kitchen or to serve the man, or they train them and prepare them for marriage instead of they becoming responsible for themselves and for their family in the future. The list is inexhaustible. If I say I should continue to say this, we will not.
Adjacent, are you there? All right, while we wait for Adjacent to join us back, he has made some very salient points, driving home the fact that there's so many factors that contribute to youths nowadays looking for or seeking greener pastures from other countries. I remember some time ago, not too long ago, and even now we still have the issue of brain drain in the medical field, where so many health workers are relocating in droves, to try and get better living conditions, better working conditions. And we're seeing it, infiltrate the education sector. And it has led a lot of people to ask whether or not this sector is being prioritized, looking at the hierarchy of needs. in the country, it will make one ask whether, the education is even something that the government is looking into. In the defense of the government, and of course, this present administration, there's so many reforms about education, increasing the budget allocation to that sector. But the question still remains, do we have enough trained personnel? Do we have enough facilities to, teach these people? Do we have good learning conditions? And let's not also forget the fact that there is insecurity as well, especially in the north. This morning, we're talking about 280 pupils abducted from their schools in the north. Sometimes it's hard enough that parents can hardly even raise money to send these children to school. And then eventually they send the children to school. They don't know whether or not these children are going to come back to them safely. So these are the things that make one wonder whether or not the education sector is a priority on the list of the government. And if it's not, then what can we do, to beef up security, to top it up as the list? Because they always say that, the children are the leaders of tomorrow, the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. But if we're not equipping them right, how then can they lead? I want to give it a try once again. If we have Addison Joseph with us. Addison, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I never need the internet interrupted. I was just speaking all through.
Oh, sorry about
So
that.
sorry. So where did I actually stop, please?
So basically, you were just talking about the fact that if they don't make the right things available, how then will these youths not want to travel out? How then, you used yourself as an example that even you, if you had the opportunity and things are not, in the right place, things are not put right, then you would also want to go out. But my question is, beyond all of this, right? If we look at the state that we are in now in the country and especially on the continent, a lot of people are asking, like I said, is the education sector a priority when it comes to the list of the government or the administration? So in your own opinion, do you think that we prioritize this sector enough? Because we've hammered on it over and over again, better learning conditions, equip the teachers well, pay them well so they can teach these people. But we're not seeing any positive returns. So do you think that they're being prioritized, that sector is prioritized?
The education sector in Nigeria has not been prioritized. Aside from the lip services being paid by a lot of politicians about offering free education to primary, secondary education, you get into the system and you discover that this student indirectly paid some amount of money in terms of levy and the likes of it. Well, if government has prioritized the educational system and an average Nigerian could afford it, then we'll not be talking about university increasing tuition fee for undergraduate program, even postgraduate program. So the government is making business out of education of Nigerians. So they are not even looking at it from the perspective of the impact the education is going to make, cause to this entire country. But they are looking at it from the perspective of how can we make more money. If you look at a lot of persons who set up private universities and private high school and the likes in Nigeria, their primary objective is profit making, not impact. We only have few persons or few proprietors or university founders that actually have this passion to really impact. And you can definitely see this outcome as a result of the product they produce from the university. If government has prioritized the educational sector, they will not be voting in a meager amount of money to the sector. How can you as a government be so confident or be so satisfied seeing your university teachers going on strike for about 8 months and not bother about them, but rather you're threatening them? Are they doing that for themselves? They could continue to do this. They could continue to do the lecturing. They will continue to go with the system and keep earning their salaries. But what happens at the end of the day is the rot of the system.
Okay, thank you so much for your input, Addison. That's the much we can take for now. Really appreciate your time with us, and we hope that the government will do much more to prioritize the education sector, not just in Nigeria now, but across the African continent, because we see these trends also, across some other countries on the African continent. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and do have a great day ahead, please.
All right, you're still watching for Fanua Africa. We go on a short break now, but when we come back, we're still discussing the challenges that the youth are facing on the continent, especially in Nigeria. We've talked about the education sector, but what about the agricultural sector? That's also something we want to look into, so don't miss out on the second conversation. Stay with us. But going straight now to the talks about the youth and agriculture. Now, in the first half of the show, we talked about the youth and education and how people seem to japa in search of greener pasture. But now we're going to look at agriculture and how the youths are supposed to harness the opportunities in the agricultural sphere and what challenges they have encountered. Additional issues like land tenure, climate change, inadequate infrastructure further exacerbate the challenges faced by the agricultural sector. However, the bright side is that there is a growing movement to revitalize and modernize African agriculture, creating exciting opportunities for youth to be at the forefront of the transformation. Now, promoting a shift in the perception of agriculture from being a traditional and labor-intensive occupation to being a modern and dynamic industry can attract more young people to engage in farming and agribusiness. And this can be achieved through targeted awareness campaigns showcasing successful young agripreneurs and creating platforms for knowledge sharing and, of course, for collaboration. That said, I have a special guest in the studio with me right now, the CEO of Omotola Livestock Farms. I'm talking about none other than Ali Omotola. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And I like what you're wearing, by the way.
Wow. This is made by Iron Styles.
Oh, nice. Okay, talking about the youth and their exposure to agricultural opportunities in Nigeria, what would you say are the major challenges hindering that from happening?
When we come to agriculture, one of the issues we have is the publicity. And the youth are not well informed about the advantages of agriculture. You know, when it comes to agriculture, everybody sees agriculture as this business that it is dirty, it is time consuming, it is energetic. Let me use that word. But if we farmers make more awareness, people will understand that this agriculture, you can be what you want to be. It's not that time consuming if you understand the business you want to go into. So in the aspect of youth empowerment, I would like us to put in so much awareness, publicity, just the way other people do it in other fields. Let me start from the aspect of marketing. Once you want to employ youth into marketing, you want them to come into the aspect of bringing millions for you. But agriculture is easy, very, very easy, that your next neighbor can be your customer. You can start from the aspect of abstract farming. What I mean by abstract farming is that you don't need to have a farm to get a produce.
Yeah.
You can be an intermediary between the customer and the producer, where you just look for a near farm, get a product, and look for your customer and sell. Food is so easy to sell that your neighbor, everybody eats food. Everybody eats food. So your neighbor, you can just go to your neighbor, I have this product, show them the quality, and just let them know that it's of good control. Because food safety and security is one of the issues that is killing agriculture. You can't just take anything you don't know about. But once you are well informed, with the publicity that the government can help us, if the government channels so much energy into publicity, people will know that agriculture, you can make 80 to 90% return on investment. For an example, if you spend 10 million naira on agriculture, I can guarantee you that if you do things right, you can make as 8 to 9 million naira profit on it. So I would want the government to put in so much empowerment, because I've benefited from the Barari government. I'm a product of the Youth Farm Lab.
Wow.
I went to a 6-month training where we learn about pig farming, goat farming, fish farming. So that is where I got the idea of specializing in livestock.
Wow.
I started from the aspect of the crop farming, which I did not like it because it's kind of stressful, because to secure land is not that easy. But when it comes to livestock, I started with abstract. I started with getting the people that rear this catfish. When I meet them, I get the produce from them, I smoke it, and I package. So the innovation I brought into fish farming, people around me were like, this young guy can come up with this idea. And the motivation that come through that, it gave me the courage to do more. And now I have so many products that I sell to the market. I sell the smoked catfish, I sell the cow skin. There are two types of cow skin, the smoked one and the fried one, and we export. So we need to come from the aspect of marketing. And two, people need to know what they are bringing to the table. A lot of people went to school, they study business administration, but they don't know when they go to the agricultural firm, they can get positions there. You hardly find any agricultural firm that is structured in a business way. But once you can go to an agricultural firm and tell them that this is what I want to do, this is how we can bring up your brand. Tell me why I will not employ you. You need to just work on and tell me what you are bringing to the table. Because everybody is doing business admin, and the next thing they're working in the bank, they are doing other jobs. But you need to tell me that this field that I am in, I'm a boss there and I can deliver. That is the aspect of education. And this, it still come back to what we learn in school. We have shortage of veterinary doctors. We need vets. We need vets, because once we have, like in the farm now, we might have some animals that want to deliver, they need support. Because in the cases of pig, they might want to deliver to like 8 to 12 babies, and they can't do it on their own. But when you call this vet, the vet is not available to deliver because we have short people in this field. Once you channel that your energy that let me go and be a certified veterinary doctor, you'll be able to stand fit in that field. That field is not yet competitive, and it is where you can actually benefit from. So those are the few ways I feel like the youth are lacking behind, not knowing the aspects which they need to channel their energy into. So I feel like it is also based on the publicity and the advocacy for youth in agriculture. People have turned this agricultural thing to old people business, and it's old people that are good. You can see I'm young and I'm actually benefiting from agriculture. So sometimes very soon I have plans of taking up people and mentoring them in agriculture on how they can make millions from it.
So I actually do have a lot of questions from what you have said, and I think I'm going to start off by asking, you have been a beneficiary of the Barari Agricultural Initiative.
Yes.
A lot of times when people talk about these initiatives, they talk about it as though there's no evidence, right? Most times we hear, if not that you're sitting here in front of me telling you, we don't exactly see people come out and say, oh, I've benefited so much from these initiatives. That's because sometimes the process itself does not fully go through. So yes, there's the initiative, but do they really train them well? Do they equip them well? So it's a good thing that you're saying that you benefited a lot from that. But another problem that people have is access to these things. So my question is, how easy was it for you to access this initiative and to get on with the program?
Okay, on my own part, I might say I'm very lucky, and I'm very conversant with the social media. It was actually sent to me by a friend, because I started agriculture when I left school. So it was sent to me by a friend that this program is going on. You can actually check it out. And I did. It was very, very easy to sign up for. I signed up and they scheduled a day for an interview, which I went there for the interview. I was trained for 6 months. We did a class training for 3 months, and we did a field training for 6 months. We went to different kind of farms. We even went to the pig farm at Okearo, where I spent almost 2 weeks. I learned how to castrate the pig, how to take care of the pig, how to feed the pig, how to identify a sick pig, there's a way, when the pigs are growing up, they tend to be very, very carnivorous. So we need to cut their teeth so that they can't bite off each other's ears. So those are the things so it was very easy. The government just need to put in more publicity, because that's why I said I was just lucky, because I had a friend I was working in the Ministry of Agriculture. So once the information comes out, they'll be the first person to get it. So they sent it to me.
And
so
not many people are
Not many
lucky.
people will get it.
Yeah.
So that's why I want the government to just channel so much energy into publicity. And during that training, sincerely, the government tried. We went to different places, and there was a mentorship program after. Part of those that trained us in agriculture are people that have agricultural businesses that they run. So they employed us. So for like 6 months, after going through the classroom and the site, so you learn the business aspect of agriculture, how to actually monetize it. So the government have played their part. It is left to people like me that have benefited through that system to sell to the community. So let's put in more. I'll still go back to publicity. The government needs to do more in the aspect of publicity.
Right. You also talked about the necessity for the youth now to leverage on areas that have not become overpopulated.
Yes.
And I think that the challenge with that would be that some of these people want to do it, but they don't have the financials to start with. They don't have capital to start with. And there's no support coming from anywhere.
Yes.
Now, we get that these initiatives exist. The government is doing a good job trying to train people, but do they have enough resources to back them up? For example, I want to become a vet and, I don't have the capital to start. How accessible is the government, the Ministry of Agriculture? If I reach out and say, okay, this is what I'm working on, and it's definitely looking like it's going to be lucrative, but I need capital resources. How accessible is it? How easy is it for them to get these resources?
Okay, I'll say it point blank. It's not easy to get funding in agriculture because the same rate at which they give funding to other investors in the business, that's how they give funding to agriculture. And in agriculture is not a business that you invest today and you get your money tomorrow. So it's a long-term business, and it comes within the range of 6 months, 8 months to a year. But once you try to get funds, people expect you to start paying back. Maybe once you get a financial support in January, they want you to start paying back in March. It doesn't work that way in agriculture. That is sincerely killing us. We need to work on, the Bank of Industry need to work on financial support specifically for agriculture. In that way, it makes it easier for you to obtain loan, structure your farm, and work on how to make the payment. The payment of agriculture, you can, because if you tell me to pay back the next month, some things might come up that I need to cover, such as there's something we call work hazards. You might lose some animals within that process, and you will actually recover. That's the good part of agriculture. With time, you actually recover. But if you don't have enough time, the pressure of you paying back the loan, it will destabilize the business. So the sources of fund is very, very minimal. Or I can even say it's not even possible because the economic issues that we have now, it is not easy for people to attend to loans, especially when you are young. They ask you for collaterals to get loan. How do you expect a graduate of 27-year-old, a graduate of 30-year-old to get loans? Which collateral did I want to drop?
Exactly.
Except I want to use my father. That's even if my father have a property.
Exactly. If he has, I don't think you want the loan in the first place.
Funding is killing agriculture. And agriculture is a business that the more you invest, the more you get. If you invest more in agriculture, you get more. So one of the things that is killing the youth is that all our old people that we see that are doing agriculture, they don't actually invest more in it. That's why they are not getting high outputs. So we need people, either individual bodies, because there are some foundations that used to come up with support. We can get foundations to come up with financial support. I think that would be best for the business.
Okay. Also, I would like to ask, I mean, you seem to have, it seemed, I wouldn't say it came to you easy, but at least you were lucky enough, to get on the program, learn a lot from it, and now you're doing well for yourself. But I don't think that anything comes without its own challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced in your own business personally?
I'm a graduate of food science and technology from Lagos State Polytechnic. So after I graduated from school, I actually want to invest in food security. So I started from crop. I bought a land, I harvest cassava, I process into gari. I was just lucky. Don't let me use the word lucky. I was innovative. I put in so much effort into packaging. I packaged my food into some transparent pouches and I made it so attractive. So when I package my smoked catfish and my other products, once you see them, the way I package them, it made them even attractive. And when I'm now trying to sell the product to you, I will let you know that this product is sealed. Dust is not attached to it, insects have not invested on it. So you can see the innovation I added to it. So it has not been easy, sincerely. It has not been easy for me. I started with abstract farming when I started crop farming. Because agriculture gives you a room to identify the produce and the market. That is why I used to come back to the youth that they are not doing enough. Because you can see how people use the social media to connect people and create content. You can also do the same in agriculture. I identified some certain set of people that used to travel. That's how I started. They tell me that they need catfish. I'm like, how can I send this catfish to you? I cannot just pack it in this normal nylon. So I discovered a way. I harvested I went to the farm. I joined the market women. I bought some certain set of fish. I went to the market, I smoked it, I packaged it, and I started selling. That is how I knew that you can make the profit from fish farming from 30% to 80%.
Wow.
So I leverage on that, and today I'm doing well in that field.
Really, really interesting. I really wish, I wanted to ask you if you had if you had plans of training youths, you have gotten the training and you're doing well. If there's a possibility of training more youth so that they can learn all of these things and, make the most of it as well.
I benefited from, I'm a beneficiary of learning. So it would be selfish for me not to give back to the community. So it's part of my own community service responsibility to give back to the community. I'm working on a project. It's going to be a combined project of the poultry and the pond. So we are going to manage a space. It is something that people are lacking. They don't know how to manage that space. People don't know that you can do both fish farming and poultry all together. So when we are going to start running sometimes in April. So when the farm is fully running, I have plans of getting young people with passion, because agriculture is all about passion. Sure. So to get people that have the passion, I will employ them. And if I'm lucky enough to get some funding, I will give them seed money to start with after the training.
Very, very interesting and inspiring as well. Thank you so much. CEO Omotala Livestock Farms, Ali Omotala. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts as well. And I really do hope that the youths have learned. But before we go, this is all we can take regarding questions about agriculture and, of course, education. But before we go, we have some quotes that we want to leave you with. So take a look. Okay, thank you so much. Well, those are some amazing quotes that we would leave you to ponder on. And one of the quotes there said, agriculture needs to be modernized. Now, this is not just for employment opportunity, but imagine how much food will be in circulation and how better the economy will be. Like I said, that's the much we can take for today. Thanks again to my guest, Ali Omotola, the CEO of Omotola Livestock Farms. Join us again in our subsequent episode of Fafanwa Africa as we discuss some of the challenges that the youth are facing and, of course, the possible solutions. And, of course, we will take a look at creativity in the youth sphere. My name is Blessings Musugu, and it's been a pleasure to be your host once again on the show. See you again next time on this same show. Have a lovely day.